Hello, and welcome to Highways to Your Future, part of the SUNY Old Westbury School of Business Professional Development Initiative. I'm your host, Art Szymanski. We are joined today by Andrea Matera, a certified public accountant and principal of AVZ, a major Long Island accounting firm. She also is the chair of SUNY's Old Westbury School of Business Advisory Board. She earned her Old Westbury Bachelor of Science degree in accounting in 1997. Thank you for joining us today, Andrea. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So you earned your Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, and based upon that experience, what role does the mastering of Excel and data analytics play in making accounting students successful in today's accounting environment? And there are other special skills that they might need as well?
Sure. Well, first of all, it plays a major role. When I graduated, I think Excel was really just sort of coming into play. In fact, the computer classes I took here, I believe they were Lotus-based and not Excel-based. But I was fortunate enough to get an internship through Old Westbury when I was here, and the company I worked for was doing a lot with Excel. I had a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of things to work on, so it gave me a good basis. But I remember when I started my first job, we were still using the old green bar paper with the ledgers and everything. And I was working on a project. I was working with an older manager at the time, and he set me up to do a 50-person payroll on a green bar spreadsheet. And one of the partners happened by as I was doing it and said to me, "What the heck are you doing? You should be working on Excel, and don't ever let me catch you working on that again." And that was the time back then. A lot of stuff was paper-oriented, especially on the audit side. Files were paper, not electronic. And nowadays, I mean, Excel is like breathing for accountants. I mean, everything we do is in Excel. Everything now is paperless environment, and Excel is probably 95% of what I do is using Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So it's really something that you have to have some skill set with when you graduate and be able to work on comfortably.
Is there other software or other platforms that you think students today should start looking at or master?
Well, a lot of the paperless environment incorporates other things like Word and Excel within that paperless environment. But Excel really is a major one, and we, like I said, 95% of what I do. Of course, if you have any exposure to a tax software or stuff like that, but every firm uses something different where that's concerned. If you're at a smaller firm, using things like QuickBooks and things like that are definitely helpful. But Excel definitely is something that is not lost and is something that is at the forefront of what we do every day. As far as the data analytics, that's something that it's been a buzz for a while. And there's been some articles over the last few years or whatever, but I think it's really at a tipping point now and coming into the forefront. You know, as accountants, we've always done some data analytics, but it's been more historical based, like looking at the relationships on the financial statements, doing variance analysis and ratio analysis. Why did that happen? What's happening? But in today's environment, there's a lot of softwares out there where you can dump entire general ledger packages or entire corporate accounts receivable agings into this data analytics, and it will spit out for you things that are more anomalies. So rather than just looking for relationships, why did this happen and what happened, it's more like this looks like it's lying outside the norm. That spits out exceptions, and it's going to change the way we audit from just going based off sampling of what we know is there, and it's going to point you to, hey, those things all seem okay, but this seems like an anomaly, or this seems like an exception, and let's investigate why that is. Let's place some more risk and audit more toward that direction. And the bigger firms, I think, are a lot more on the cusp with this. You know, they have a lot more technology, a lot more resources, and I think some of the bigger firms have even created some certifications with data analytics that are coming more, and they incorporate it more into their core training. The smaller firms, I think, are a little more behind the eight ball on this, and I think it's going to become more and more important as time goes on to get some training. There are softwares out there. You can purchase these packages, and again, you dump all of your clients' data in, and it's going to spit out things left and right, things you might not even think to analyze, and point you in a direction. So it's really, I think that piece of it, the data analytics, is really coming to a head, and it's going to start to get even more and more important as time goes on.
And you mentioned big firms and small firms, and you've worked at both. Can you spend a minute or so and tell us about the benefits of each, And where would you urge our young students to at least start looking? Should they look at the big firms, the small firms? Should they look at public accounting firms versus your basic accounting firm? Just tell us what you think about that.
I was here, I had an internship in private industry at a medical manufacturing firm, and I got some, like I said, some great Excel stuff and doing some analytics and things like that. But I was advised, and I think that they're probably right, that public accounting is really sort of the best training ground, because you come in and you get to see so many different things as opposed to just sort of, routine day to day, working on one thing, working on one client, which is your own company. Not that private accounting isn't great and there aren't great careers there. For me, I think public is really the best training ground. Now, when I see a lot of the big difference, I started my career at a smaller mid-sized firm, about 75 people. And what I liked about it is I got to do a lot of different things. It's more the diversity of different things that you get to work on. So I did everything from writing up a set of books and records to preparing payroll tax returns, sales tax returns, income tax returns. I did both individual and corporate, and trust returns, and did some auditing. And what I really like about that is you can also get a feel for the different things. What do I like? Do I like tax? Do I like audit? Do I, like big clients? Do I like small clients? Do I like a specialization? What I found is I worked 5 years at that firm before going to one of the big four firms. What I liked about the big four firms is that they're highly specialized. You don't get to do everything, but if you know what you want to do, what they're really great is building specialties, and I think that is a key advantage at the big firms. So I say, as far as steering students, it's sort of, what do you want to do? You know what you want to do? If you want to get more of a flavor of everything because you're not sure where you want to go, maybe you want a smaller mid-sized firm where you might get to experience multiple things. If you know right away, hey, this is all I want to do, I just want to do tax, I just want to do, auditing, then a bigger firm might be a better place to start, because the big firms are so highly specialized that it's not just audit or just tax. It's, if you're going to do tax, you're going to do only taxes of partnerships, or only taxes of corporations, only audits of distribution and manufacturing companies. You're not going to audit banks and audit distribution companies at a big firm. So there's definitely this specialization, and they have the resources at a big firm are clearly much more. And one of the other things I find at the bigger firms is there's much more formalized training, which I know a lot of students like coming out, as well as people early on in their accounting career. One of the things, the gripes they always have at the smaller or to mid-sized firms is, how about training? What about training? It's mostly on-the-job training. You get CPE, you get other things like that, but the big firms have real formalized training processes and things that they put together internally. So it's really a different world. I think the resources are different, and I think in a lot of ways the smaller mid-sized firms wouldn't be able to service the large public companies that the big firms can, but I think the very large firms couldn't really do the hand-holding and the servicing of the smaller client that needs a little more, who wants to call you up when he's buying a car and say, hey, should I lease or should I buy? And we get a lot of that kind of stuff at the smaller firms. So I think both, you can get great experience. I kind of look at my career as I learned accounting and how to be a good accountant at the smaller firm, but I learned how to be a good auditor at the larger firm.
Interesting.
And now I still do a little bit of both. Now that I've moved back to a mid-sized firm of about 85 people, I do primarily auditing, but I still do to the point where if I audit a company, there's a good chance I'm going to also prepare the corporate tax return and the shareholders' tax returns. So even though my specialization is really the auditing side. So if you like the change, if you like to do different things, smaller. Which brings us to the question of internships. Mm-hmm. Now, certainly here at the School of Business, Lorraine Tedesco, who is in the Dean's office, assists students in trying to find internships because she keeps a list of those companies that are offering internships. Yeah. But what else might a student do to get an internship, and where should he or she be looking, at least on Long Island? Yeah, I think definitely the school career services is definitely the best route, because there's relationships between the firms and the school. They might trust a recommendation that comes about, or they might create certain slots available for the students. Attending the school career fairs, exceptionally important. It gives you face-to-face time with somebody, a practitioner that maybe you wouldn't normally get to have a little face-to-face. It gives you a chance to talk to them and let them see what you're like, and that gives you a better opportunity of getting an interview. So I still think that's the best way. Are there other ways to do it? Sure. I mean, if you look online and you even just Google accounting internships, you can get stuff on Indeed and on LinkedIn. Are great resources. There's jobs postings all the time, and for private companies as well have accounting internships. They hire often from Indeed and from LinkedIn. They post resumes and things like that. And then the other thing is a lot of the bigger firms will have even postings on their individual websites. You can look for what job openings are there or their internships or whatnot. And I definitely think getting an internship today is very important.
How early in a student's career should they start looking for an internship? Freshman, senior, someplace in between? All of the above?
I would say my answer is the sooner the better. I think a lot of firms tend to hire people, like with us, I think we tend to get anybody who's maybe 6 months from graduation to up to 2 years even with graduation. But I'm hearing that some of the bigger firms are even starting to recruit even earlier. And when I graduated, a lot of firms would hire staff accountants, right out of school, start you at the starting salary. And what I'm finding more and more, and even with my own firm who used to do that, is they like the internship program. They rather bring you in as an intern, and because it's almost like they get to screen you. They get a trial run. You get a chance before your salary is high to learn a lot of things, and they use it as almost like a feeder system for who they're going to hire upon graduation. And by doing that, you can also make an impression at a time where you're not making as much money, so maybe the expectation isn't as high. You can, garner great experience. And we have gotten to a point where we almost solely hire from our interns because they're proven. It's a proven individual. You know what they can do. You've seen what their effort is. You've seen what their commitment is, and you can, see if they have the ability to grow. And so you're not just hiring, like I said, at a higher salary level, hoping that this person's going to meet your expectations. You already know.
Exactly.
So I think, that would be.
All right, well, that also brings us to the whole question of networking, which is a good way to start as well. And of course, we have all kinds of programs here in the School of Business, again, through Lorraine Tedesco. But what kind of networking do you think students should do, especially with professional organizations, New York Society of CPAs, for example, or any others that you might suggest?
Yeah, definitely the earlier you can start networking, the better. Obviously getting involved with anything the school can provide you with. I got my first job off of the Old Westbury was promoting the student night that the New York State Society of CPAs does, where they have a night where the professionals come and the students come and they network together and they talk and gain what could be a future business relationship for referrals and things like that. So, the sooner you start, make some contacts, you might see some familiar faces where you go to make it a little more comfortable. And if you don't, you're more comfortable going into that situation and starting a conversation with someone you don't know.
There you go. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure our students are going to walk away with a great deal of information. And thank you for watching. Until next time, take the on-ramp to the highways to your future.